Good afternoon, back with you on a video lesson here, April 23rd, 2021. I hope everybody is doing well. Wow, what a fantastic squeeze on OCGN, on BTX, and even on Snap. Snap, I wasn't actually trading it, but a really nice afternoon squeeze on Snap from the 50s all the way up to 60 before the market closed. Um, Today's video lesson is going to be a little bit different of nature. I'm going to talk about, of course, the trades I took and my mindset behind them, but also um, talking about the importance of historic percent gainers and how these are absolutely important to add, get to your watch list, especially when they have a history of running. And the example I want to make of this is actually going to be on the watch list that I posted to the membership site. By the way, if you're not in our membership site, make sure you get into it. It's $100 a month, but this is stuff where things like BTX is alerted, and this was back on April 5th at 8:20 p.m. Mountain Time. So if I bring back the chart on BTX on April 5th, you can see that this is where I was alerting BTX back on April 5th. And why do I say that? Look at the top of the screen here. That is on April 5th. And, my comments with regards to BTX was, this is an after-hour spiker that I couldn't find a news on, likely a short setup, but the very thought of the fact that I wanted to go short on it could also mean that it's going to squeeze. So on watch for follow-through news or PR or rumors, but likely just a dip buy or short. So I'm basically 50-50 on which way this thing can go. But I am waiting for news to come out on it. So let's go back and dig through this a little bit. So this is on April 5th. And this is one of the importance of paying attention to percent gainers and not necessarily trading them the moment you see it, but waiting for the trade to set itself up for you. Okay, that I think is what a lot of people miss when it comes to trading the markets. They just want instant gratification. They want the spike now. Now is when they want to capitalize on it. And this is the exact moment that you should just be sitting back, watching, and letting the trade play out before you do something. Letting the stock show its levels to you, show what it's made up of, and go from there. Okay. So, anyways, April 5th. Let's go here and see. On April 6th, they appointed a new CEO. Nobody seemed to care about that. You can see the stock just sort of continued crashing. And then, not a lot of news here. Let's see here. Boom. So, on the 7th, Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine rollout is initiated in the UK. Okay, and we know that Brooklyn Immunotherapeutics, they are related to the COVID-19 plays. It's a COVID, for sure, a COVID-19 play. And that is on the 7th, right? So that's on this day right here. No, again, nobody's really paying attention to BTX, right? Because it's not related to the company. Okay. On the 15th, so and so is going to join the board of directors of the BTX company. So that's on the 15th. So we're looking at it here now. Okay. And then literally a few hours after that news published, then they pay $1 million towards the acquisition of license for mRNA technology platform, likely for the usage of the vaccinations. Now they have the license for the mRNA, and now they have inducement grants and nothing else. So you see how the news isn't fantastic on this, right? But when you have a stock like BTX that shows the ability that it's a previous runner, okay? This is the important lesson here. The previous runners can run again. And when you see them up like this on what looks like a massive rocket launch, better part of like 100% mover, and these start cooling off, it's not time to give up yet, okay? This is where the majority of people get bored with stocks, when they see this downtrend and they think the stock is dead. And this is, in fact, the opposite that needs to happen on a previous runner that had a massive percentage gain. Why is that? Well, if you're using a nice platform like Interactive Brokers, you will see that there were shortable shares and that a lot of people shorted into BTX because there was no news. Okay? And if you've heard me talk about this before, you know how frequent this is an occurrence in a stock market. Short sellers are as powerful, if not more powerful, than good or positive catalysts for a stock. Why is that? Because short sellers bet against the stock with borrowed shares. They sell shares that they do not own into the markets. And then when there is buying pressure and when there is these press releases with new doctors or new license acquisitions for certain type of technologies and people start buying up the stock, the shorts are forced to do nothing else but to cover. And to cover means they have to turn to buyers. They got to buy back the shares that they sold into the market so they can pay off those shares to their brokers. And don't mistake that and don't discount how influential short sellers are in this game. Okay? And that's what causes a squeeze like this. Now, does this mean that you start taking a position here? Okay? It's hard to say. Okay, for me, the answer is no. Okay, and the reason the answer is no is because I don't have enough proof that this thing is going to come back. Okay, but this is where technical analysis starts helping with the finesse of a trade. A stock that ran in after hours to the better part of the eights, let's just draw that key level here, that now finally bounces back and is now slowly trickling up. This behavior needs to be on watch. Not because you necessarily want to trade the breakout here, you could, but because you want to see what happens when the stock pulls back to that key level. Is it able to hold? Because if the stock is able to hold at the key level, that is the place to start loading up, okay? And it's very easy why I'm saying that, because if that key level is broken, it's very simple. You just get out, okay? The stock does not have any plans on running. But if that key level is held and now you start adding some more buying pressure to it, then this is the sort of results that you get from it. A stock that runs from 8 to 1887 before it cracks. And now I don't know if this thing's done or not. This thing would have to come back down to the 13s and hold 13s for me to be interested, and then I'd probably be interested in the 14s for another squeeze up to retest the 18s. But likely, you know what, you look at the long-term chart, this thing probably hit its highs today. It's actually up in the 18s. So I would be surprised that after this massive run up here that this thing needs to cool off a bit, just like it did in the past, right? History tends to repeat itself with with the stock markets. But I cannot speak enough to these stocks that, you know, are just massive percent gainers. They need to be on watch when they start looking boring. Okay? And you need to have the discipline of watching the markets more than you press buttons entering and exiting stocks. Okay? Very, very, very important. OCGN, same sort of scenario. Okay? So let's open up OCGN. Let's throw it on a 10-minute chart and expand this. Okay? This is the importance of previous percent gainers that show up time and time again. Okay? So you can see right here the OCGN was, it's kind of hard to do outside a month, but anyway, it's been downtrending for the better part of several months, and boom, finally we have a couple squeezes here. Okay, these are like little cannon shots going off that should be telling you that, hey, pay attention to this, not because it's time in this time frame to be trading it. What was this? This is March 31st to April 7th. This isn't necessarily the time to be trading it, although you could, absolutely you could. But what this is telling you is, listen, this thing is something you need to pay attention to, because there's a high odds that there's a lot of shorts trapped in something like this that are just buying to cover when the stock is running up or when the market makers are running up the price. Okay? And when you finally get the same sort of price action, this was a little bit harder to read, and this maybe needs a little bit of your experience and some screen time and whatnot to be able to actually spot a setup like OCGN and be able to capitalize on it. But when you have something like this, where you know that the capacity for this thing to run, when it starts rebounding towards these key levels here, okay, so 817-ish, this needs to be on watch. Okay. Because anybody who shorted into this, they won temporarily until buyers started piling up again. And the reason buyers came up is because OCGN actually had legitimate news, right? So if we're looking at this back in April 20th, let's just go back to April 20th for a sec and take a quick look at it, right? So there you go. OCGN is rallying on the results of the second interim analysis of a phase 3 study of Covaxin, which is used for COVID-19 vaccinations. right? So right around here, they have released positive news on a stock that's obviously heavily shorted, as is evident with these random pops. Okay, on a stock that is a previous runner, so the stock ran in the past from 2 to 18. I mean, this is a no-brainer that needs to be on watch when you see this back a few weeks ago. And the play, the confirmed play, was today about, let's call it 18 days, 15, yeah, 15, 18 days after you first noticed it. So it's one of those things where instant gratification loses in the markets. Okay, somebody who's patient and can sit there and wait for the moment to pull the trigger is the individual who succeeds. Okay, now I'm not saying you got to be sitting here literally every single day and not have any plays. Okay, you can, absolutely you can, but what I'm saying is, set an alert for a level just underneath 820. I don't know, it's in the eights. And when that alert goes off, and you are present in the morning and the afternoon, which you know is the most volatile segment of the stock market, is the morning, the first hour, and the last hour. Align yourself to be there for the market, because those are the times things tend to happen. And that couldn't be any more true for OCGN. And this thing starts rallying and starts running up. Okay. Now I have quite a bit of experience trading stocks. So my trades were a little bit different on this. I was not waiting for the breakout. I was actually buying the dip here in the sevens. Okay, and that's what you can see with OCGN right here. This is on the 22nd. I was loading up on the dips, and I did a nice video recap that I posted to our membership site about the importance of a VWAP hold and loading up on a VWAP hold on something that has positive news with something that was able to spike not only recently, but also a few months back. It ran from 2 to 18. So I was very interested in that VWAP hold setup. So just loading up on the dips, and as you can see, I sold to strength. And then once again, when I started seeing the strength in the stock, I was loading up on those dips and selling a little bit into the what do you call it, into the close, so that I could capitalize a bit of profits. Okay, and then once again, because these key levels were held, I'm not panicking out, right? And by not panicking out and sticking to my thesis, it's what allows for this beautiful, beautiful run up where, I basically called the near top on this. And this is probably a little bit lucky. I'm not going to say that I for sure was going to be able to say this is the top, but it just so turned out that I sold near the top. Okay? And where did I absolutely pull the trigger on this? Right when this top, these are 5-minute candles. So let me throw this onto a minute candle so you can see what it is I saw and why it led to the decision making of getting out. Okay? And this is something that you will learn time over again. If you look in the history of this stock in the last little bit, never has it ever had a massive pullback like this. Like the size of this red candle was disgusting in comparison to how it's pulled back in the past. Okay? So to me, this was the clear, obvious sign that this is the time to get out. Okay? So let me zoom into that. And the confirmation was when we had a bit of a pop and then the weakness started to strike again. You see this failed spike right here, right? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to hold for a potential dip. I'm just going to get out. And what a fantastic decision that was. And I'm so glad that I got to showcase this live now to you so you get to understand what it is I look at when I make those split-second decisions. And it's that. Look at this. This was the beginning of the end. Okay? And that's because for the first time in the history of this uptrend, we got this massive pullback. Okay, never have we had that sort of a pullback before. Yeah, a bit of a little blip right here, but this was absolutely disgusting. And you should have seen it. You should have seen it live. It was just it was decimation. So I held a little bit because I was curious if this was just gonna be a temporary stop losses going off. But like I said, confirmation to me was when this failed spiker happened on the red downtrend, and I just started to get out. Okay, so I was fully out. 884 realized on profits here. Okay. With BTX, another stock that I traded today. So again, recognizing the ABCD pattern, getting in on the law of the U, essentially nailing the perfect bottom of this trade. So basically using tech analysis to finesse my entry. And I just sold into strength. And the exact same thing again. Massive, massive, massive pullback after this thing. And I'll tell you, One of the reasons why I was able to sell this near the tops again and get completely out is because of the chart on OZSC that looked identical to this just a day prior. Okay, let me bring up OZSC where I have it over here. Right, so yesterday, let me zoom this out a bit so you can see. Does this and this not look identical? Let me see if I can put them side by side. Can I do that? I think I should be able to do it. Try this. Okay? And this is why it's so important to study the past. This was on April 22nd. This is on April 23rd. This is today. Okay, you can see that down here. April 23rd. Okay? So this is why it's so important to study the past. Of course, they're not identical to the point of every single tick, but they for sure have the exact same look. And when I started seeing this overextension, sort of parabolic move up here, I said, you know what? This is as good as it's probably going to get. And the confirmation was the massive, massive red pullback, same as you'll see on OZSC the day prior. Literally the same chart. And then, this thing just kind of fails off to the end and doesn't do much afterwards, right? Like it kind of dies off to the end. Anyway, decent $300 profits there. Okay. So what are we at? About 1,200 bucks by this point now, between 848 on OCGN, 884, pardon me, and 321. So about 1,200 bucks. And then in after hours, I'm buying up the dip on BGI. It's a previous runner. You can see that right here. Where are we here? Yeah, so it's a previous runner. There was no news on this, so that's the one thing that I had going against it. I was trying to actually short it up in the 320s. There was no shares available to short, so I decided to buy the dip to see if there was a bit of a bounce I could capitalize on. Turns out there wasn't much of a bounce left on it, so be it. I just averaged down at a key level here and sold for basically a $5 net. I'm going to call this one like a break-even trade. There isn't much to it. And then CREG was a quick spike. If you're wondering how I caught it on my stocks to trade new high a day scanner, and I caught it right here. So as this thing was starting to make new highs on volume, it popped up my new highs a day. I didn't actually see the news on it, but there's no news, I guess. So I was just literally just buying into an early spike, like morning spikes. When you're early, it's okay to chase a little bit, and I just took a small $60 profit. Basically, just paid for my lunch today. So, that was that. Okay, but I just cannot overemphasize the importance of previous percent gainers. You want to see another example? Let me show you GVSI. I was busy out eating today, so I totally missed this run. But look at the spike today from 0.79 to 0.19. This is like a $79 stock becoming a $190 stock, okay? So it's very important to understand that. And how could you prep for something like this? Pretty straightforward. Let's pull up a 6-month chart. It's a previous percent gainer. Okay, it's a previous multi-day runner. You could have had it on watch on this day when you would have noticed it, and then you could have traded it on this day when the morning spike happened. And this is April 19th to April 20th. Let's bring up a closer term chart so you get to see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so April 19th to April 27th to April 20th. So you would have caught it here, right? And you could have traded it the next morning. Pardon me, let's just resetting this chart. Okay. Yeah, so you catch it on the 19th and you trade on the spike on the 20th. This is this is like a $40 stock going to 60. Okay, it doesn't look like much, but this is 55% from 9:30 to 9:57. So in 27 minutes, that's the sort of, price available on GVIS. And then what do most people do, right? What do most beginners do? When it starts failing up here, they stop paying attention to it. Right in the moment that you're supposed to pay attention to it, people stop paying attention to it. And because they stop paying attention to it, they'll miss the play on day 3 where the massive, massive short squeeze was off of a key level, right? And you can see that. This thing right here, even if you traded on this day, you could have traded the following day as well. Beautiful morning spike. And I actually traded this one and I video recapped this on the membership site. And I discussed why I took the trade and how this is just simply a percent gainer that I found on the 19th that I'm trading 2 days in a row. Okay? And here most people give up, right? They think it's dead. And today, it literally tests the key level of the previous morning, a couple mornings ago, right? So that was a top on the 21st. What happens on Friday, which if you know anything about trading the stock markets, you know that short squeezes tend to happen on Fridays. Okay. Um, yeah, so what happened here? It literally tests the top, pulls back for a dip. The law of the U, which I teach intensely in my course, happens, and the stock explodes. You literally just have to buy the dip on a VWAP hold, which I talk about all the time, or buy the breakout. And you don't even have to buy the breakout in a chasing fashion. You could have bought the dip on the breakout. That's what makes it so beautiful. The law of the U. Okay, I talk about that so many times, and I feel like I'm taking, almost what's the word I'm looking for? I'm taking these pills. What are they? Broken record player pills. For heaven's sake. I'm talking about this so many times. Okay? So yeah. Um can't speak to this enough. All right? You just have to be there. You have to study. These opportunities are there. I mean, this today, if the breakout was basically 60% run, the dip buy was 106% run. I mean, and not that you're going to hold for this, okay? I mean, you could if you got you got the fortitude to do it. I certainly don't. But I mean, the level 2 would have shown strength up until 1.5 here. For sure. That's the only way this thing would, look like this at the end. So I mean, you could absolutely capture the dip buy off a VWAP. Literally the VWAP, okay? You just have to look at the VWAP here and buy that VWAP. This candle, you missed this candle, buy this candle, risking off of here. And you've got a massive, massive gain on a percent gainer that's running. And on top of that, if we go back and take a look at the news, I guess I can't really get the news on here, but let me see if I can bring it up. Oh, GVSI, right? I think there was news on this. I don't know why I can't pull it up, but let's pull this back in here. Pardon my technology, everybody. GVSI, is it loading more news? No, it's not loading any news right now. I guess there's a glitch going on with stocks to trade. But anyway, the point is, this is just it's just too good to be true. Okay, like people don't understand that this is what they're walking away from, and this is the trading that's available to people if they study the past, if they get educated, if they stay disciplined, if they don't mind spending 5, 10, $15,000 worth of education so they can make 15, 20, $30,000 in one trade. Yes, in one trade. I mean, you literally would have to throw a $15,000 position at something like GVSI today, right? Let's just do some fun math here. Because the volume was there, you can see it traded 823 million shares today, right? So let's say you throw $15,000 at this at a price of a penny, which is what it was at. That's 1,500,000 shares, and that's totally doable in a stock that's trading 823 million shares, right? And then you don't hold for the whole thing, but let's say you do because you're trained on level 2 in our programs, you hold until you start seeing the toppy level 2 price action, you sell at 1.5. Okay, so 0.1 to 1.5, right? Let's do some math on here. 0.1 to 0.15. 0.005 is the profit factor. Okay, so 0.005 times 1,500,000 shares, you're looking at a $7,500 return. I'm pushing 15 grand to the stock. So literally, the majority of my clients that spend 10 grand, 15 grand on my course, half of that would have been paid off by just being educated and learning to wait for these moments and not just trading because you're bored, because you're trying to feed your ego, because you have an addiction to instant gratification. No, trading when the setups are there. I just cannot emphasize that enough. Okay. Anyway, the nice thing here is the people who understand this, the people who believe me, the people who follow me, the people on my website who leave comments and reviews and all sorts of things that have been through this journey, they understand what I'm talking about. So it's cool. All of us, we get to kind of move ahead and make beautiful passive income and be financially free while the rest of the people are working like peasants. Sorry to call you that, but like peasants who don't want to actually learn something better. Okay? Sorry for the tough love, but sometimes the reality is harsh. And this is one of those things that just absolutely annoys me, and I get on fire when I find out that people just use their skepticism to stay tone deaf to the sort of things that are actually possible for them. And this is one of them. I mean, GVSI, SNAP, TDC the other day, and the massive squeeze, SYPR today. What else? BTX the last few days. OCGN the last few days. I mean, how many more examples do you need to see to understand that this exists? But there is a way and a method to be profitable in the markets. The market makers understand your peasant-like mindset way too much, and they know how to play with your psychology, so you buy at the exact wrong moment and you sell at the exact wrong moment. So what is it going to take for you to get educated, right? And at the end of it, you don't have to work with me. There's literally 50,000 other platforms out there. Go and work with them. The point is, I want you to get inspired and I want you to get educated, right? There's a few people who just think that they get 2 or 3 months worth of education and that's it. They're just going to go and trade and they're going to be badasses now and they're going to follow the rest of their advice off of YouTube. No, 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 no. You need to dedicate your time and attention to your education 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, so that you can be profitable. But I tell you, you learn this skill and you will not be able to look at a job the same way ever again. Okay? So I'll leave that to you. Do what you want to do with that information. I mean, me and my clients are doing great. And, I want to show you this right here. So on the membership site, nice thing is I've also created a section for my students to make a post. Okay? Get into this thing. It's $100 a month, but it's totally worth it. All the stuff. Look at yesterday at 6:26, I talked about OCGN. I mean, you literally would have had another warning beforehand. On Wednesday at 5:37 p.m. So I want to show you on Wednesday. Just want to double check the date here. That was on April 21st, right? Okay, so April 21st in OCGN. Where was I alerting OCGN? I was alerting OCGN here at 5:36 p.m. Okay, here. The stock went to 13. This is worth $100 a month. At least I think it is. Anyway, but the beautiful thing we've done here is look. You can see that Francis, one of our students who's been working really hard, he was having issues with chasing before. Now it looks like he's cleaning up his act a little bit, and I'm really happy to see that. But you will see on the video recap, because I post video recaps here all the time, and we just started this only about less than a month ago. And right here, look, Francis, on 21 hours ago, 7:55 p.m., he's talking about BTX in Power Hour. Too bad that he was stuck in a slow TDC trade, and so be it, right? But the point is, Francis found BTX on his own because he's gone through education as well. Francis, when he ran into issues, right, he did not wait and hold and hope. He jumped into a consultation call, paid his beautiful $500 an hour to get an hour spent with me to get over his problem. And because of those sort of actions that Francis takes, he's able to be self-sufficient. And look at my response. I haven't noticed BTX. I was talking about BTX 2 weeks ago. I was too busy with OCGN. Right? So I'm asking him to post this to the student watch list, and some of the students are not as active right now, and that's fine. But yesterday he posted us to the watch list and saying April 23rd, BTX on watch for continuation cancer play with news. Beautiful power hour squeeze on the 22nd, possible red to green opportunity. Snap on positive earnings as well. So Snap and BTX was Francis's find on April 22nd at 8:36 p.m. And on April 23rd, right? Here we go, BTX. So he's talking about it here on the 22nd. On the 23rd, what happens? The stock runs, okay? And what was my response on Francis's comment here, right? right? I said I'll be on watch to short it if I can find shares to short after it exhausts its run up, and I'm talking about Snap. And what exactly happened here on Snap? The exact same thing that I talk about all the friggin' time. This short was a perfect opportunity as the spike was exhausted and the stock went back down. Okay, so the nice thing with the membership site is, I get the balance ideas off of my students and my clients, and we go back and forth, and I help them understand the information they're looking at, just to support and facilitate their journey. Anyway, this isn't a marketing campaign. This is just what's possible. It's right there. It's in front of you. If you want, jump into it. If you don't, that's okay. But my clients and I were making money right now, and the market's slowed down, and most people are losing money because they're getting chopped out. So I just wanted to show you that this is what's possible. Sorry for the tough love, but sometimes you need tough love in order to make some, difficult decisions in life, and this is one of those. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna enjoy my profits. I'm going to walk away, go and have a fantastic weekend. I hope you're inspired. I hope you're going to study harder, and I hope that you're going to do what it takes to find success in this game. All right? Have a fantastic evening, and we shall see you next week. Bye-bye.